Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber C Risk Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. Implementing and maintaining controls is where the real work of risk management takes place. Designing a control is only the starting point. Implementation is where theory becomes practice and where actual risk reduction is achieved. A well-designed control that is never implemented or implemented poorly cannot protect the organization. C-risk professionals play a key role in ensuring that the control's original intent is preserved during deployment. This means working closely with control owners to support alignment with business needs, to validate that execution follows the approved design, and to track whether the control functions as intended in live environments. Implementation is also the stage where the handoff from design to ownership becomes critical. On the exam, residual risk that remains unexpectedly high often stems from implementation gaps, either because the control wasn't deployed correctly or because it never operated consistently after go-live. The best answers reflect a full lifecycle view, from planning through deployment into maintenance. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Before a control is implemented, careful preparation is essential. C-risk professionals help the control owner review design specifications, ensure clarity of ownership, and confirm the expected outcomes. They validate that all required resources, such as personnel, tools, access permissions, and system dependencies, are available. Test environments are often used to validate configurations, integrations, and user access controls before deployment. Management protocols must be followed, including documented change requests, rollback plans, impact assessments, and designated rollout windows. These safeguards help reduce the chance of service disruption or unexpected side effects during implementation. On the exam, if a scenario describes a failed rollout or an incident caused by control deployment, the issue may be due to a missed prerequisite. The best answers reflect strong planning discipline and pre-implementation readiness checks. During implementation, C-risk professionals support control owners by translating risk language into specific technical tasks. Many control owners are operational or technical leads. They may understand how to configure a system but need context on why it matters from a governance or compliance standpoint. Facilitating collaboration across IT teams, business process owners, and compliance stakeholders is essential to avoid missteps or duplicative work. Communication must remain open throughout the deployment, especially if issues arise that require adjustment or rapid decision-making. C-risk professionals also help monitor for drift from the original control design, changes in configuration, scope, or application that could weaken effectiveness. On the exam, a scenario where the control was deployed but didn't reduce risk may point to execution that deviated from design. The correct answer often involves closer oversight and facilitation during rollout. Once deployment is complete, controls must be tested and validated in the live environment. C-risk professionals help verify that the control functions as intended. This includes checking for proper coverage. Is the control applied where it's needed? Is it functioning under all expected conditions? Performance must also be evaluated. Does the control respond to the right triggers? Are alerts generated correctly? Is access denied where expected? In addition to technical performance, user impact must be assessed. A control that disrupts workflows or creates excessive friction may be bypassed or undermined. Test results, deviations, and approvals must be documented. On the exam, if a treatment plan stops at deployment with no validation, the risk remains unmanaged. The strongest answers always include post-deployment testing and confirmation of control operation. Control maintenance must be embedded into daily operations to ensure long-term effectiveness. C-risk professionals help define maintenance protocols, including how often the control will be reviewed and who will perform the work. This may involve reviewing access logs, applying firewall rules, applying patches, or reviewing exception logs. These tasks should be scheduled and tracked using operational calendars, ticketing systems, or automated GRC workflow. Responsibility for maintenance must be clearly assigned and cannot be assumed. If no one owns the day-to-day upkeep of a control, it will eventually degrade or become irrelevant. On the exam, a control that stops working over time often signals a missing or unassigned maintenance process. The correct answer involves assigning clear roles, scheduling maintenance, and integrating the control into ongoing operations. Monitoring control health is how C-risk professionals validate that controls remain effective over time. Key control indicators, metrics such as control uptime, performance speed, number of exceptions, or failure rates help identify early signs of degradation. Automating alerts when thresholds are breached allows for faster response. In some cases, dashboards or reports may aggregate control performance across departments or geographies. Internal audits, risk reviews, and periodic testing should confirm that controls continue to function and still align with the associated risk scenarios. Risk professionals play a role in helping teams interpret KCI trends and determine when a control may need to be redesigned, replaced, or supplemented. On the exam, questions about unexplained changes in risk levels or control performance often point to missed monitoring. The best answers include metrics, automation, and oversight practices that ensure visibility and accountability. Controls must evolve with the environment. Changes in systems, threat landscapes, or business processes may require adjustments. C-risk professionals support change management by ensuring that proposed modifications to controls follow a documented process. This includes submitting change requests, conducting impact assessments, and obtaining approvals from relevant stakeholders. Once a change is approved, the modified control must be retested to ensure it still functions as expected. Version control must be maintained, and updates must be reflected in the risk register and other governance documents. On the exam, if a control fails following an upgrade or system change, the issue may be a misstep in change management. The best responses include structured control change protocols and a feedback loop into the overall risk management system. Control failures can and do happen, even with good design and strong intentions. When a control does not reduce the intended risk, C-risk professionals help identify the root cause. This could stem from a design flaw, an implementation misstep, or a breakdown in ongoing maintenance. Working with risk owners, the C-risk team reassesses residual risk and determines whether a redesign is needed, whether compensating controls can be added, or whether escalation to governance is required. Repeated control failures or persistent issues without resolution must be documented and escalated to governance teams to ensure that the risk is reevaluated and that accountability is enforced. On the exam, if residual risk increases unexpectedly, the correct answer will involve examining the control's lifecycle, identifying the failure point, and updating the treatment or control strategy. Training and documentation support the sustainability of any control. Control operators must be trained on what the control does, how it works, how to detect failure, and how to escalate issues. Documentation should include control objectives, setup procedures, maintenance steps, troubleshooting guidance, and ownership responsibilities. These materials must be stored in approved repositories such as a control library or GRC system, where they can be accessed by stakeholders or auditors. Without documentation, knowledge is easily lost when personnel changes occur. On the exam, if a control stops working after a team change, the cause may be a documentation gap. The strongest answers reflect mature documentation practices that support continuity, audit readiness, and knowledge transfer. C-risk exam questions about control, implementation, and maintenance often test the depth of your lifecycle understanding. You may be asked why a control failed to reduce risk, and the answer could involve incomplete implementation, lack of validation, or missing maintenance steps. Other questions may focus on who is responsible for ensuring the control remains effective. The answer is typically the control owner, not the risk manager or audit function. You might also be asked what to do after deployment. The correct response will include testing, monitoring, assigning maintenance responsibilities, and linking the control to risk register entries. If residual risk unexpectedly rises, the likely cause is a control that failed or was not maintained. The best answers reflect traceability, accountability, and performance validation throughout the control lifecycle. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber C-Risk Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.